Okay, we've had the overview videos. Now I want to go into a little more depth into solving, or rather graphing, an equation that's given to you in vertex form. So think about it. We're going to graph a quadratic equation. That means x is raised to the second power. Um, the graph of that is going to be a parabola. So the parabola is the name of the shape of that type of graph. And we're going to have vertex form, which means we're going to be able to see the vertex relatively easily. So let me share with you the piece of paper that I'm going to work on, and show you the equation that we're going to graph. Let's see, here we go. And let's improve the lighting a little bit. Maybe get this more in focus. Okay. So here we have y minus 3 equals negative 1/4 x minus 2 squared. Now, one way to graph is to do a table of values, but I'm going to choose to understand that we have a vertex. So the vertex here is going to be 2, 3. I have negative signs in both parts of the equation, so I have 2, 3. And then I have to get another point, and I'm going to use the axis of symmetry to work to get another point. I'm going to wind up with 5 points total. So let's see. Let's draw an x-axis and a y-axis, and we have to have a vertex at 2, 3. So 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. So here's the vertex of 2, 3. Now, I also just need another value to put in for x. And then I'll get a value for y that corresponds with it. So maybe I want to put in 0 for x. I'll find the x-intercept. I can do this straight from vertex form without putting in the standard form and doing all that work. I just literally plug a 0 in where x is. So we wind up with, let's see, I'm going to do a little scratch work down here. We'll wind up with y minus 3 equals negative 1/4 times negative 2 squared, which is 4. Okay, so negative 1/4 of 4 is negative 1, and we have to add 3 to that, so y equals 2. So that means when x equals 0, y equals 2. Okay, so that's this point here. Okay, now we know this is the vertex. Now, because this is the vertex, x equals 2 is the axis of symmetry. I'm going to write that AOS, axis of symmetry. Now, if this value here is 2 away in the x direction, there is a value on the right side also that's 2 away in the x direction, just the opposite direction. So instead of being at x equals 2, we're at x equals 4. So we have another point here where x equals 4 and y equals 2. That corresponds with the point we figured out here was 0. So because this distance here is 2, we also have this distance over here of 2. Now, we can pick another point. Just visually looking at it, it might be easy to pick a point that maybe exists over here somewhere, something like 5 or 6. I'm going to choose 6. So let x equal 6. I'm working down in the corner down here again. Let x equal 6. Y minus 3 equals negative 1/4 times, let's see, x equals 6. So 6 minus 2 is 4. Squared is 16. 16. Okay. So negative 1/4 of 16, that's equal to 4. So y minus 3 equals 4. So y minus 3 equals, y minus 3 equals negative 4. This is negative 4. Y minus 3 equals negative 4. So y equals negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So at x equals 6, y equals negative 1. So that would be on the graph over here. I'm going to go over here 2 more, and we wind up down at negative 1. All right. Now, I'm 4 units away from the axis of symmetry. So if we go 4 units away in the other direction, we wind up at -2, -1. So we also have the point, if we have the point over here of 6 of 6, -1, that's this point. That means we also have the point here of -2, -1. And now we can really draw a pretty nice parabola out of that by going through those points. Make your top shape, oops, I went too far. Make your top shape kind of rounded, and it should look kind of symmetrical about the axis of symmetry. All right, and that's a pretty detailed way of using vertex form. Use vertex form to find the vertex, then find another point, use axis of symmetry to find a third point, then maybe find a fourth point and use axis of symmetry again to find a fifth point. So we wind up with plenty of information to draw our graph with. Now, I think with this and the overview, you should be able to do the vertex worksheet. Although the vertex worksheet on the third page, where it gets out of the graphing and starts asking you some other questions, I'm not teaching you directly how to do that. We'll talk about it after you've tried it. I think with all the work you've done this year, you're going to be able to handle those questions pretty well if you just slow down and think about it. You really do know how to deal with those. So I would encourage you to do that. Okay, have a wonderful week, and you have some homework to do with this, but you'll be very well prepared after doing that homework to move on to the rest of the chapter.